Hi, I wanted to talk about a few things that in my initial video I talk about how I was bullied by doctors, and I wanted to explain why I put that on there. I started getting sick in June, the very, very beginning of June. It was about the first week of June I started getting sick, and I started going to the hospital. And there was one time in particular where I went to the hospital and my blood pressure was 167 over 117, and the doctor that I saw told me that if my symptoms proceeded that I needed to come back because I was very, very close to a stroke, and he was concerned because I'm only 25 years old, and he wanted to find out what was causing that if it happened again the next day. Well, it was probably the last time I got a decent doctor. The next day I went into the hospital. My symptoms were the same. I was freaking out. I could barely breathe. I was having shortness of breath, and my throat felt like someone was squeezing it, and I could barely breathe. This was about the time when my throat was extremely swollen. I went to the hospital, and they brought me back into one of the rooms in the back, and they put a blood pressure cuff on me, and I was there for about 15 minutes. And one of the nurses came back, and she was claiming to be a doctor. She told me she was a doctor, and she said, "We did blood work on you yesterday." She took my blood pressure cuff off while she was saying this. She said, "We did blood work on you yesterday, and you're fine. You need to go home." And I tried expressing to her, I said, "You know what? I saw a doctor yesterday. My blood pressure was a little bit higher than it is today, but he told me to come back if I felt the same way. He said that he was concerned about the high blood pressure." And she pulled me into the next room and said, "Well, your blood is fine." She goes, "It doesn't matter if you have high blood pressure." She said, "There's nothing wrong with you, and you need to go home." I got pretty upset with her at this point, and I said, "You know what, you have got to listen to me. Like, I can barely breathe right now." I kept stressing the fact and, like, pleading with her that I was feeling really, really, really sick. I said, "You know what, you just listen to me." I said, "I am sick. There is something wrong with me, and you guys have got to figure it out." And she looked at me, and she said, "I've worked you up, Naomi, and that's all I'm gonna do. You need to go." Okay. When somebody comes into the hospital with blood pressure above hypertension levels, you do not work them up and get them into even a bigger frenzy and send them home. That's just going to make their blood pressure worse. That seems pretty weird to me, and I wish I would have had a hidden camera so that I could have gotten this on video. I found out she was claiming that she was a doctor. I told her she looked pretty young to be a doctor. I didn't believe her. I found out that the girl's not even a phlebotomist. She's not even allowed to draw people's blood, which, if I would have caught her on camera claiming to be a doctor and saying the stuff that she said, it would have cost her her job, and I really wish that I did. And there was another incident when, I went to the hospital, and I was pleading with the doctors, telling them I was peeing blood that day. And I was pleading with the doctors. I said, "You know, there's something wrong with me. Please do something about this." I had really bad kidney pain. My urine was about between the color of my hair and this apple juice. It was a little darker than this and had some red to it. And they asked for urine specimen, and the nurse who was waiting outside of the door after I gave her my urine specimen, she held it up to me and looked me in the face and said, "You sure know how to catch everything, don't you, Naomi?" Then they come back about an hour later and tell me that my urine was fine. Okay, first and foremost, when somebody is, like, frantic, and they know they're feeling sick, and they know that something's wrong with them, and somebody does that, pulls, "Oh, you sure know how to catch everything, don't you?" and holds your urine that evidently has traces of blood in it. Not only is that unprofessional, but that's gonna freak somebody out. That's gonna freak anybody out. Like, who does that? What kind of doctor or what kind of nurse does that to somebody? This is another time, another incident, when I wish that I had a hidden camera on me, because if I did, these people wouldn't be working there anymore. And I could probably get a pretty decent lawsuit out of that. So, and those are a few times when it happened. It's also happened when, in my slideshow, my second slideshow entitled My Illness, you see the chunks that I have in the jar. I brought those into my doctor, and she just looked at me. She didn't give me any answers. She looked at me like I was crazy. I said, hey, like, this is the stuff that is coming out. Wouldn't I go to the bathroom? Can you tell me what is wrong? And she just literally looked at me like I was crazy. And then she said, you need to see a gynecologist because I don't want to deal with you on this matter. Which I did see a gynecologist, and he wasn't very helpful at all, actually. No. He didn't do anything for me either. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. And then there was another time when I went to a hospital in Denver. It was St. Rose Marie Hospital in Denver, Colorado. And the doctor ordered an ultrasound, and as the ultrasound tech was wheeling me into the ultrasound room, here's another time when I wish I would have had a hidden camera on me, he blurts out, keep dreaming someone's gonna help you, ho. Okay. So, at this point I know that I'm sick. There's something weird going on with my body. And he says, keep dreaming someone's gonna help you, ho. Isn't that their job? Isn't that the job of a doctor, to, like, find out what's wrong with me? Not criticize me and ridicule me and belittle me and make me feel like there's no hope and that there's nobody who's gonna help me. Like, what kind of employee, first of all, does that? What kind of person does that? And what kind of hospital has those kind of people employed at their hospital? And this is also why I need to get a camera with me, so that when this stuff happens, it's just not me talking. I have it on videotape, and I can show people that it's actually happening, and that people are really doing this to me. But I'm not stressing it too much, and the reason being is, whether this kills me or not, whatever is making me sick, if it kills me, the truth is going to come out. Like, it's evident, it's inevitable, it will come out if something does happen to me. So, I'm not too worried about that, but I am at the same time. I mean, I'm only 25. I've barely just begun my life. I had so many things that I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to see my son again. I wanted to tuck him in. I wanted to kiss him. I wanted to let him know how much I love him. And I don't know if that's gonna happen. But those are all just examples that I want to put on YouTube about the way that I was treated and some of the things that people have done to me. I know that some people get a kick out of watching other people suffer and whatnot, but these videos are not supposed to be there for those people. So, this is being put up for people who might care enough to try to do something to help me. But anyway, I think that's that for this video, but I just wanted to share some of the stuff that I was going through. But there's one more thing that I want to share. After I was worked up at the hospital, and the story that I told you earlier, how the nurse told me that my blood work was fine and that she had worked me up and that's all she was going to do for me. It was about 3 weeks later. I was shopping over at King Soopers. It's one of our local grocery stores, and a girl that I had never seen walked up to me, and I'd never seen her before in my entire life. She walked up to me and she goes, "Oh, your blood work's fine." And then she starts laughing and she goes, "Huh, just kidding, you're gonna die, bitch." Like, and this is where I'm at with that comment is, okay, whether or not I'm gonna die, like, who walks up and says something provocative like that to somebody? Like, do they want me, like, does she want me to punch her? Like, I'm not going to, but is that what she's asking for? Like, who walks up and says that to somebody? That's absolutely ridiculous. And let's say she knew something was happening to me. She goes, "Haha, you're gonna die." Like, "Yeah, right, your blood work is fine," all mocking or whatever, in a mocking tone. Like, what kind of person just, like, sits back and, like, uses that to their advantage to just destroy a person? If it were me, if it were the other way around, I would totally speak up and say something. I would totally say something, which might be why I'm in this situation, because I would always say something when I saw something wrong going on. But for somebody to walk up to me and say that when I'm already scared, I don't know what's going on. I just know that I feel very sick constantly. I've got some crazy stuff going on with my body. I'm peeing blood, and I'm being told that there's nothing wrong with me. And then a comment like that, like, that's just absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, that's just, like, those are just some examples of stuff that's happened to me, and you don't have to, like, if you're still watching, wow, thank you. I don't expect anybody to watch this video entirely through. It's going on 13 minutes, but if you have watched it, thank you. And, yep, I hope you guys have a great week.